Lulin, you weren't saved, you died, and yet you had a life changing conversation with Jesus until, and I'm not going to say what that until is, and but then you came back like knowing things. I mean, you could see in the
Yes.
spirit, but you came back with several visions also about America and the end times. So, for those of you watching, thank you for subscribing and share this. And you need to listen to everything because also the visions are very interesting. And I also would love comments on what you all think about that. Okay, Lou, take us back
Okay.
to when you were a child and how you were brought up before this experience happened.
We were a family that always went to church. I was raised in the Episcopal Church, so I could recite creeds and prayers and hymns. I'm from a very small town. And so it was a tiny Episcopal church. Like, it really is a precious little church. It's like something you'd see in a movie or something, just beautiful stained glass. But I can even remember getting confirmed at age 13, and I had been sick. And so the priest, I can't remember if it was priest or pastor, I can't remember, but came to our house to finish the teaching. And all I wanted to do was go outside and swim. Like, I didn't grasp any of it. I didn't understand. I was confirmed. I had no understanding. Look, everybody called him the Holy Ghost, that kind of. So I didn't have any understanding of a relationship with Jesus, of how really any of it, I hate to say how it works, but how he works and how life works with him versus life without him. I'd never read the Bible. I went to church because I'm in the deep South and we go to church, right? And I knew my kids needed church. I had two boys at the time. They're now 31 and 29. So I knew that was important while I'm living this broken life full of mistakes and sin, full of brokenness, full of past abuse. And so I'm not the person that anybody would ever think that Jesus would come save. And that, I think that's one of my favorite parts of my story, is when I am telling it in Home Goods or in a parking lot or wherever he sends me. And I go, wait, no, I didn't belong to, I wasn't saved. I had not given him my life. I think, I'll tell you one thing that happened to me as a teenager that think he would have come for me anyway. But as a teenager, I was very lost and I had just been abused by a boyfriend. Okay. And I was by myself in my room and I just felt so alone. And I went and got a piece of paper. And on that piece of paper, I wrote, I, Lou Williamson, love Jesus. That was so out of any kind of normal for me. And I felt him. That's like really the first time in my life that I can look back and go, that was the Holy Spirit comforting me in that time. And I had that for years. I think I had that until like I moved in my 20s, and I wish I still had it because it was just this little strip of paper that I'd like torn out of a high school notebook and written. But until that time when I almost died, that's really the only personal experience I'd had with Jesus. And I didn't understand that was him at the time either. Like, so I had multiple relationships before. Andrew and I have been married for 21 years now, and just such brokenness. Janie, just so broken and manipulative, and I would lie and I would cheat and I would manipulate to get my way because I think, look, my family never harmed me. When I was sexually abused as a young child, it was a family friend, not a family member. And it was for a short period of time, but that messed my entire worldview up, of my body, of sex, of even like father figure, because it was a man, so it messes up your whole, you don't see the world through the same lens that you did 5 minutes before it happened. So that was me. I still have young kids, so I'm careful with part of my story because they're still young, right? But when I was with Andrew, I'd already had 3 failed serious relationships in my life, and I was 32 years old.
And also, you were going through a lot of health issues.
Yes. I, as a small child, my mom lost a full-term baby before me, 14 months before I was born. She was born, and my mother had been exposed, like she'd had the Spanish flu, one of those weird things when she was pregnant with her. And her lungs were not developed enough. And she was born in 1969. So today she would have easily lived probably. But then it's a small hospital. My mom never even got to see her. My mom was pregnant with me shortly thereafter, and she was exposed to another, I can't remember exactly what it was, like German measles, maybe something like that. Like a kid had it at the ballpark where my mom had been sitting next to the kid. My mom was in the first trimester of her pregnancy with me, and the doctors were like, okay, this can lead to birth defects. This can lead, but we can give you some gamma globulin to possibly save the pregnancy and to save her or the baby. They didn't know it was a girl. So I don't remember how many rounds of gamma globulin my mom got, but my whole life, my immune system never worked right. Mm-hmm. I could not fight off a cold. I had chronic strep as a child. When I say chronic, there was never a school year that I didn't miss a month of school my entire life. And so I still, I still went out and played and did the things, but I was constantly sick. And then when I was a senior in high school, I passed out a few times and I got really sick. And it's crazy because in my small town, this doctor that is renowned around, I'm in a bigger part of Alabama now, he was in tiny Jackson, Alabama for a while. And my sister worked for him. And she's like, you've got to come see him. And so he ran tests and had ever run. And I had chronic Epstein-Barr viral disease that had caused a mitral valve prolapse at the time. And so that was my senior year of high school. They would only let me go to school till 1 o'clock in the afternoon because my body literally could not take it. So my doctors had to work with school, had to work with people to even let me graduate. And I went to college. I was taken out of college twice by ambulance. And it was just my life. There was not a name for it or a diagnosis for it right now. Like it's dysautonomia is what happened to me after the Epstein-Barr viral disease. It means my autonomic nervous system is dysregulated. And the Epstein-Barr viral disease just wrecked my nervous system. So I did have 2 pregnancies that were very difficult, very difficult. By the time I was 27, I had 2 laparoscopies, a complete hysterectomy, and my first heart procedure, which I was 28, which was a heart ablation because my heart was beating too fast all the time. I turned 28 right after I had that heart ablation. And that's kind of where we pick up. So I'm teaching elementary school. I look back now because I taught in the smallest school district in the state of Alabama. And it was this tiny little elementary school in Lynn, Alabama. And I look back now at the way those people loved me because I can see now like how much school I missed, how much of a hardship that caused to other teachers, the administration. Mm-hmm. I gave those kids everything I had every minute I was there. But my coworkers were so good to me. And I'm sure they got tired of it sometimes because just like when I was a kid, I missed a lot of school. But I loved my job and I loved my kids. So I actually met Andrew through that tiny school. So.
Well, and I think I find it interesting because I always believe that somebody probably was praying for you. Even the fact that when you were 16, that what you wrote that I, Lou Williamson, love Jesus. But also then you had like a journey of God's love. I mean, because God gave you these 2 sons, and I feel like that was opening another door to really know Him.
Oh yes, those boys are still. I mean, all 5 of my children are precious to me in every way. Logan and Hayden taught me what love really looks like. For me to love somebody, because look, my parents loved me. Look, our parents were different in the 70s, 80s than they are now, for the most part. My dad was really, my dad and I did not have the best relationship. We butted heads a lot. They taught me a different kind of love and gentleness, and And my marriage was not a healthy marriage. But those kids were just always my everything, my everything. And that comes up even in my near-death experience, that my two little boys were everything to me. I can't say I always made the best decisions. I did not have Holy Spirit to guide me and lead me. And so I know my decisions hurt them too, as much as I love them. And that's just the fact we all have to face, that life before Jesus is different when we aren't obedient to Holy Spirit, and the decisions we make do hurt other people. And I have apologized to them and they're so gracious and loving with me. So they're grown boys. One proudly serves our country. One is about to serve our country. And we just have a beautiful adult relationship now. So, but for me,
Well, I just think it's neat that the Lord showed you his love
yes,
through them. But I
yes.
want to go to the history of the heart issues. Like when you
Okay.
had the ablation, at first you were feeling normal. Why don't you start
Yes.
there?
So all of a sudden, the year that I was 27, things just started going really wrong with my whole body. All of a sudden, I would stand up and my heart rate would be like 150, 160. I was exhausted all the time. I had been to several local doctors. That it's funny, but a friend of mine was in a bar and she heard somebody talking about a specialist in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And she came home and said, I was with this friend and I heard about this doctor. So I got into that doctor the next week and she said, you have inappropriate sinus tachycardia and it is bad. Well, the week I got in, then I wore a monitor for a week and went back. And when she looked at the monitor, they were like, this is bad. There was a specialist in Birmingham named Neil Kay who pioneered the ablation, because it used to be like an open heart surgery thing. And I went to UAB and he did the ablation. And even when I woke up from that, so look, I had the catheter in the neck. I had full, like not cut open surgery, but vessels going inside and frying. They burnt part of my sinus node. And even through that, when I woke up, I felt better. I had almost 5 healthy years. And that's the only time I'd really ever been like I was running. I was going to the gym. In fact, it was actually March 22nd, which was funny because I looked it up because that's Andrew's birthday. I knew who Andrew was, but wasn't involved with him in any way. But on his birthday that year, I ran the Azalea Trail Run, which is a 10K race, 6.2 miles. And those little boys and my parents and everybody, after all of my health issues, my whole family stood at that finish line to watch me cross. Like, it was such a victory. The next year on April 8th, I almost died. So that is how quickly it went down this time. It was night and day. I can remember Andrew and I were dating. He was from another small town, and I'd been running. And I came home and I had to lay on the floor. And I felt this familiar knowing, because once something's wrong with your heart, my sister calls it the inevitable sense of doom, like your body recognizes once it's been through things. She's a nurse. Imminent sense of doom, my bad. And so I knew something was wrong. And so for a few months, I was still able to run. By Christmas time that year, I'm in bad shape. We took a family trip to Disney. I can remember trudging through those parks for the boys. But I started missing more and more work, wearing more heart monitors. My sister was the nurse at my cardiologist's office at the time. And so one night, very close to the near-death experience, she called me at about 8 o'clock at night and went, are you okay? I said, yeah, well, I don't feel great. She said, you just skipped 7 heartbeats in a row. The monitoring company called me. She's like, Lou. And I was like, I know, like, what do we do? And so I went back. I was at the doctor's office almost every week, from Central Alabama down to Mobile. We were there all the time. And so one night, the night before I almost died, I'd been to graduate school. I was getting in the middle of this, I'm getting my master's degree in elementary education. Single mom. Andrew helped all the time with my boys. He always has since the minute he met them. And I'd been to grad school. I didn't feel good, but I was used to not feeling good. I'd been to the emergency room so many times that you just, and then nobody ever knows what to do. So I came home and I told him, I said, something's not right. Like my head is not right. And my head felt like it weighed 500 pounds. And I could see him talking to me, but I couldn't fully comprehend what he was saying. Like my head was just so heavy and dizzy. And I said, will you help me take a bath? That might help. So he helped me, like I took a bath and he helped me get out, and I got in the bed and I said, because we weren't married at the time, I said, you need to watch me tonight. Watch me for what I don't know. And what do I even think that meant? I don't know. But I knew something was wrong. But I was used to things being wrong. So it didn't spark this, I have to get in the car and drive to Mobile immediately. It didn't spark that. So the next morning, on April the 8th, it was about 6 a.m., I had not moved since I closed my eyes that night before, about 10 p.m. I was a very restless sleeper before. I had chronic insomnia. But I can remember where I was falling asleep because I was looking at Andrew, telling him, I need you to watch me tonight. And that's exactly where I woke up. But I was unconscious. And I was in, all I can tell you is I was surrounded by blackness. I wasn't in hell or anything like that. But I was just like, wherever I was, total unconsciousness, there was nothing. And I heard a voice. And he said, open your eyes and tell Andrew I said to take you to the hospital. I knew who it was. I say this often, but it's like my DNA recognized that voice. Straight to the beat. I knew who it was. And I can remember, though, I had to make a choice. I had to like force my eyes open. I'm in bad shape. And I pat Andrew and I said, God told me to tell you to take me to the hospital. So all of this is, what I'm going to tell you is a blur of my memories and Andrew and all of this together, because I was conscious for short amounts of time during this period. So he goes straight into action. That man sprung up out of the bed. I can remember like him getting up, and then he got dressed. Then I remember him coming over and he was talking very gently and sweetly to me. He was pulling blue jeans on me. I remember that. And I remember him picking me up out of the bed, and I pushed forward and I said, where are the boys? Who's got the boys? And he said, Aunt Kathy. That says Aunt Kathy is coming to get the boys. So she was on her way to get them. And we left. So Sweetwater is about 2.5 hours from Mobile, Alabama. He made it in 2. I used to think it was 3.5 hours. I can't tell you how many times I told this story thinking it was 3.5 hours. He went, babe, it's really not that far. Like, I'm logistically challenged. But I remember him putting me in the truck and putting a seatbelt on me and closing the door, and I laid on the door. And then I was out. And so he starts the drive. And he said along the way, at the beginning, he would pat me and I would shift or something. I never opened my eyes to look at him, but he could get some movement out of me if he'd call my name, if he'd say something. So at the end, I did not respond. He did not know if I was still there. So it's different with my near-death experience. I wasn't in an operating room or somewhere where somebody was taking my pulse all the time, right? So I don't have, quote, all that moment medical documentation, but I do have mine and Andrew's testimonies that have never changed in 21 years. So when I was unconscious, after he put me in the truck and closed the door and there was no more consciousness, I was in a different place. I never, it was not like some people float out of their body and they see their body down below or they go straight to heaven. That is not my experience. I call it the in-between and the great white, because I never knew what else to call it. I have no biblical foundation. Remember, so I'm just in this place, and to me, this is the great white. People think they've seen white. They've never seen white. This is white, and Jesus was with me. And so I just remember feeling such a sense of comfort. And he talked to me. I didn't talk to him at that point. And people always ask me what he said then. And I really think it's all the things I know today. Like he put things in that come out at different times now. But I forgot about Logan and Hayden. I forgot about Andrew. I forgot that I had a very sick body and that I had that experience with him earlier. There was nothing except being there with him. And I just felt these waves of like peace, love, joy, and the smell. Just, it's like every great smell you've ever smelled in your life wrapped into one times infinity. It's just, he smells amazing. And I didn't get to fully look at him. He was sitting beside me. And I could tell you, like, he had on the white robe thing that we always kind of envision him in. But I didn't really focus on what he looked like then. It wasn't about what he looked like. It was what he feels like and who he is. And so one time we were sitting, and I can't remember, I'm not sure if we were on a bench. I don't know what exists in the great, in the in-between. But we were sitting on something together. And then one time we were laying in a meadow and looking up at the sky. But it felt like I'd been there all my life. And so everything was beautiful there. There was no fear. There was no nothing. And in an instant, the atmosphere changed. For years, I wouldn't even let myself walk back into this part because people have to understand almost dying, and dying is traumatic. Yes, Jesus being there and Jesus saving me overrides all of that. But almost dying at 33 years old with 2 kids and the ravages on my body, I didn't walk back into this difficult part of my near-death experience until I started preparing to speak publicly about 2 years ago. And God said, you've got to walk back in this. You're good at telling it, baby, but you've got to walk back in this. And he had to do that for me to have some healing too. So I did. I walked back into it and experienced it. Not exactly the same way, but just the memories flooded me. I remembered more. My spiritual sight had increased a lot over 20 years. And the atmosphere changed. And there were all these, pinks are always my theme and visions and heavenly light. But it was white. And then all of a sudden there were all these mauves and pinks and all these, but the wind changed. It sounded like, I'm from Southern Alabama. We've experienced tornadoes. We have hurricanes. I've been in two tornadoes myself. So it sounded like a tornado. And I was like, and Jesus, I didn't see him anymore. Now I know he did not leave me. I will never leave or forsake you. He did not come that far to leave me. I wasn't aware of where he was in that moment. And I believe this was my choice. This was my choice. Because suddenly I remembered Andrew. Jesus put those memories back in my mind. I remembered Andrew. I remembered Logan and Hayden because I started feeling this sucking. And it wasn't it's not like, I wasn't like that. But I just felt like, I feel like my spirit was leaving my body, or it was the process. I don't know. But in that moment, I stopped and I said, will you let me live to raise my boys? And I told him something personal. And I actually said a cuss word. I said S-H-I-T. That's how broken I was. And people went, that's not Jesus. He would have never listened to you say that. I'm like, man, he met me right where I was to save my life. He knew I was going to say that before he came to get me. So get out of here with that. But would I say that to him now? Never. I was unsaved. Had not started the sanctification process either, right?
But you had felt like you were panicking, right?
Yes. I was panicking. Because I knew in those moments it crossed, okay, Andrew will have no right to these kids. He is the father figure they have always needed in their life, which those 2 boys would tell you the exact same thing. And I can't leave them. I can't leave these boys. And so when I said, will you let me live to raise my boys? Because you know this. And he went, oh, sweet girl, I'll let you live to raise your children. And I woke up. Now, I woke up in bad shape. I didn't wake up healed. I didn't wake up everything is great. I woke up with a heart that was barely functioning. But I remember opening my eyes and looking over at Andrew, and I recognized a gas station or something along the way that kind of let me know where we were. And he was like, "Oh my gosh, okay, all right." Like the relief on his face when I opened my eyes. I will never forget that as long as I live. We're almost there. We're almost there, baby. We're almost there. You're going to be okay. And I remember sitting there going, where even am I? Because I'm not getting enough oxygen to my brain, and I'll explain that in a minute too. But I've got this human brain that's not getting enough oxygen with a heart that's not beating strong enough. I can't even comprehend what just happened to me. Although I came back fully knowing, hey, I just met Jesus. Hey, he told me. But I couldn't, it was hard to put the pieces back together. Like, where am I now? Why am I in the truck? And so I just am in this strange place of trying to, where am I? Mine's not functioning. We get to my sister. Jeannie said, bring her straight to me. It'll be quicker if we just do things this way. So I don't think we're like 8:30 in the morning at this point. He like flew down there, and she hooks me up to the EKG. And look, my sister Jeannie is like, she's been a nurse now. I'm 55. She's 53. She's been a nurse since her 20s, and I'm her patient. She had to turn herself off with me to a certain extent because I can't imagine how difficult it was. She said in nursing school, they would bring up a weird condition. She'd go, my sister had that. My sister had that, because I'd had so many strange things. So in that moment, she looked at me and she went, I'm going to go get the doctor. I'll be right back. I looked at Andrew and went, I'm really dying. I'm really dying, because she's never that nice about this kind of stuff. She was terrified. She was terrified. Mm-hmm. The doctor came right in. He said, okay, your heart rate is very low. It's in the 20s. We're going to get you across to the hospital. So I'm not fully cognizant. Like, I'm not aware of all the things going on around me, because I can barely stand up. Like Andrew he carried me to a wheelchair. I'm not able to walk. And they put me in a wheelchair, and I can remember he and Jenny and the orderly pushed me across to the hospital. And it's just so surreal, y'all. I cannot even explain what surreal is. You've been somewhere with Jesus for about 2 hours. Because before I woke up, I didn't know I was almost dying. When I was unconscious, even that moment when God said, tell Andrew to take you to the hospital, Andrew, I said to take you to the hospital. I'm not aware that my body's in that kind of shape, right? Like I'm having these two alternate realities. And I remember, though, this is the first time that anything was different. I'm laying in the hospital bed, and I'm on all kind of monitors. I had doctors in and out all day. And my mom came in with my oldest sister, Kim, and I felt fear on them. I'd never felt an emotion before, but I felt fear. And I went, I don't like that. I don't like that. And I can remember kind of crawling into myself. Like, I don't like that. And then nurses would come in, and it wasn't fear, it was concern. So I'm like, this is so weird. And I'm also 20 pulse. It hit 30 that day. But a pulse of 30 does not have you fully aware of your surroundings, and you can't it's just strange. It's a very strange place to be.
Yeah, but you came back feeling in the spirit. You came back seeing in the spirit, yes, which we're going to get to some visions, yes, that you've, yes, had. I mean, yeah, that's it all changed when you had, everything. I mean, when you had that conversation with Jesus, with your near-death experience, everything changed of what you could feel and see. But keep on going.
I think too, a lot of that is because I believe in that moment. And I know I won't have full confirmation until I get to heaven one day and sit down with Jesus and go, I want to talk about everything that happened. I want to know everything. I believe I had one foot in going into heaven when I felt the tornado. I feel like that was me walking into death. And I asked him, will you let me live? So I believe if your foot truly touches into heaven, if any part of you truly walks into the spiritual, you can't come back the same. You've been touched by Jesus. You've been in a place most humans don't go until they die. I didn't understand why any of this for years. So it was just super weird. Um, so that afternoon, my cardiologist came in. I'd already seen the surgeon twice at this point, and my cardiologist and another cardiologist and tests all day, and I'm just half out of it. But I remember I was very aware and conscious at this time. I know God gave me because they came in and he said, okay, there's nothing to do except a pacemaker. And you're young. And my doctor teared up. He's like, I think because he wanted to fix me. He'd been trying so hard to help me. And he was all worried about it. I went, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I had such peace. I'm like, I'm fine with that. I looked at Andrew. I said, I'm fine with that. He went, if you're fine with that, I'm fine with that. I actually had a friend call me later, and she said, do we need to get a second opinion? I said, no, we don't. She said, are you sure? I said, I am so sure. And the next morning at the break of dawn, my sister called in the dream team. I got my first pacemaker early in the morning of Good Friday, 2004. How about that? I almost died on Maundy Thursday. Jesus saved me again on a Good Friday. So as soon as, because Andrew and I were living together most of the time in sin. I told him I would not marry him for 3 years because I didn't believe that anybody could be that good or nice. I thought, I love you and I love this, but I don't think you'll stay this way forever. And I'm not going to put the boys through this again. So I'm not going to marry you for 3 years. But in my sinful mind, I'm like, I'll live with you though. Okay. So as soon as I literally woke up from anesthesia, that same voice came back and he said, marry him. He's a good man. And I looked across the room and I said, you can ask me anytime you want. I think within 3 weeks we were engaged. We got married 3 months to the day of my near-death experience, and we've been married over 21 years. And he's walked every bit of this with me.
And he believed everything that happened to you because
Yes.
what
Yes.
was Andrew's background?
He was raised in a Pentecostal church, small Pentecostal church, small, tiny. Where he grew up was a small town. He had a lot of family in that area, though, and he grew up with lots of cousins and having a firm belief in God. And he said later that he knew it was wrong for us to be living together, but he kept trying to find Bible verses to justify it because he knew. Like he repented for that later. He knew. He cared about being good and right better than I cared about being good and right. So he never doubted, but he will tell you, like when he tells this story, he didn't go into spiritual mode. He went into, I have to do the things in the natural to get her where she needs to be. And yes, he was praying for me on the way. He was praying and panicking on the way. He was calling my sister along the way, my mother along the way. He was making those phone calls. He is terrified driving me for 2 hours unconscious.
Well, I also think that with his background, his family had to be praying for your salvation and his.
Well, sure. And look, I always mention her because I have my mom's first cousin. Her name is Terry, and she lives in my hometown. When I was a kid, Terry always talked to me about Jesus. I never learned about tithing until I was like in college because Terry always helped me. She was in the 70s, 80s, my cousin worked her way. She was vice president of a bank in Jackson, Alabama, and that did not happen for women back then. She is one of the strongest, most biblically sound women I've ever known in my life, and she loves me so good. We still have a super close relationship. But she used to talk to me. I remember her going, did they teach you about Jesus at your church? You know, she's very Baptist, but I know she always prayed for me. I know she did. I know she prayed for me all my life. And I'd go to their house, and it was just so peaceful and loving. And they had 2 kids, the age of me and my younger sister, Jenny, a little bit older. But we all played together all the time. So I was also in that environment. So I know she was praying for me. I know my parents were praying for me. I know, even though I watched my parents get baptized later after I got saved. My sister got saved. My parents got saved. And so I got to see that happen, but they didn't have an understanding of the relationship with Jesus either, but they did pray for me. I know lots of people were praying for me.
Yeah, I really just know that was a very big key here. And just to encourage all of you who are watching, Don't stop praying for your
No.
friends and loved ones. But I want to go to, okay, so you started knowing things, but you also were seeing in the spirit angels, demons. Can you explain that?
Okay, that started happening. Look, I was very sick after my surgery. I had been with my heart, and I'd had just different things, those last few years. But I was in such bad shape when I had my surgery. I did not have a quick recovery at all. And that happened in April. I was not able to go back to school at all that year. I didn't go back until the following fall. It took me that long to recover. And so those first few months were literally like I didn't see anything then. I wasn't really hear anything right then. It was just about my body healing, me trying to come to some kind of grips about what had happened to me. Jesus didn't start like teaching me right away. He wasn't talking to me every day then. Like I knew who he was. I knew it had happened. I told Andrew everything. And every time over these last 21 years, anytime anything has happened, I always go tell Andrew. Always. And so I remember going back to work, and I was teaching first grade, and I loved it. It was one of my favorite years of teaching. And I just have memories of seeing something out of the corner of my eye, and it'd be dark walking across, but me fully knowing I just saw something dark in my peripheral, right? What is that? What is that? And then seeing bright light and the shape of the angel. Like I didn't have as good spiritual eyes as I do right now. It's like it was also developed over time, but I knew that's an angel, that's a demon. I don't want anything to do with this. Like I didn't want anything to do with it. And this was probably 3 years after that I got overwhelmed by it and knowing things about people. Like being in the mall or seeing a neighbor or just random things and going, she's cheating on her husband. Or this happened to him when he was a kid. Like he really hurt his leg really bad when he was a kid. Or just random things I would know about people. Almost like a little movie playing over their head. And I didn't like that. Because remember, I need everybody to remember. Yes, I'd met Jesus. I had no biblical foundation. I still had not even read the Bible. I freak out about these things. Like there's no club when you have a near-death experience where you go talk to people and go, how do I handle this? How do I deal with this? I'm a full human being, also trying to recover from a traumatic health issue. Like I'm not, now look at that point. I know Jesus had saved me and I love Jesus and I want to be with Jesus forever, but I have no true understanding of being saved and water baptism, which was very significant for me, and just different things. Like I had not fully given myself fully to him. I didn't understand. So I'd ask him to please, like, this is freaking me out. Will you turn this off? And it took me asking him a few times, but he did. Because he also knew it was so overwhelming to me. Can you imagine not knowing having never read the Bible and never read about angels and never read about angels coming to people? I mean, yes, I knew the Christmas story and the Easter story. Like I knew all those things, but I didn't have the foundation of what those things meant. I didn't understand what seeing a demon, like, why am I seeing that? How are they down here if Jesus came? Like, I didn't understand any of that. So he turned it off. And I heard a guy one time say that it generally takes 7 to 10 years after a near-death experience for people to really come to grips with what happened to them, to begin to understand. Some people get it quicker. Some people understand what happened because they have a foundation, but really accepting it and integrating it into your life in 7 to 10 years. So it was 6 years for me. And Andrew and I had the one bump we've ever had in our marriage. The enemy tried to bring me back to past ways. And I can remember it was one night because Andrew and I were talking about separating. We look back now and go, how did this happen? Because this was 3 years after my near death. 6 years after. My bad, 6 years after. And God said, don't you dare let that man leave this house. He had never spoken to me sternly, but he was like, don't you dare let that man leave this house. And I rolled over and looked at him and I said, we will fight through this. We will figure this out. And we did. And I said, we've got to go back to church. When God said, I'll let you adopt those children, after Andrew and I had been married 3 years, we adopted Ann Pierce from Guatemala in 2007. Essie, my other daughter, came home in August of 2008 from Guatemala, and we adopted a newborn. who's now 13 years old in the United States. So when Jesus said, I'll let you raise your children, he didn't just mean Logan and Hayden. I didn't know, although I'd always felt in my heart that I would have an adopted daughter, which is kind of like I had a knowing before I even knew what a knowing was. So I said, we've got to go to church. And he said, where do you want to go? And I knew a specific church that I'd just seen. And we went to that church for a really long time. And I learned a lot there. And we took a class on the Holy Spirit right after we started. And that's where I learned. And I can remember hearing my pastor at the time teaching about the gifts of the Spirit. And look, I don't call myself a prophet. I don't. I am prophetic when God chooses for me to be. I'm not like a speak to the nations kind of prophet. I love them. I love reading about some Ezekiel and Elijah. I love them. I feel this kindred, I love them. But when he said the word prophet, when he was teaching about what that meant, I started like elbowing Andrew going, there's a name for what I am. 6 years after it happened. So it's like my spirit man woke up. And I went home and I read that Bible in 3 months when I started that new church. 3 months. I read the Bible constantly and it came alive before my eyes. And then I started going, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. And I'm like, Lord, I'm willing. Because there was a period where I was like, if you'll just let me see the good stuff, you can turn it back on. Whatever, me telling God what to do. But he's like, that's not how it works. But you're letting what you think is a lot, which is actually a little, keep you from seeing everything. And so I was like, whatever you want me to see, I'll see. There was a moment, when the pastor started teaching me about the gifts of the Spirit, within the first 2 months of me being in church and reading my Bible, I went, oh, there you are. That's who you are. I got water baptized and came out of that water bawling. Yeah. And so things really started happening at an increased pace during that time. Reading the Bible, Jesus is revealing so much to me about it. And if y'all knew how bad I have ADHD, the fact that I read and absorbed the Bible in 3.5 months is a miracle. Didn't want to put it down. I didn't get enough sleep. I was just a sponge and soaked it up and was like, have I never read this? Discovered worship music for the first time in my life. So I'm singing about Jesus all the time. I'm praying. I meet some really good people at church that kind of help and direct me some. One time at Dillard's, my first encounter with that in life angel. I was at Dillard's. I had gone to buy an outfit for something, and I was by myself. The girls were at home, and I remember getting in Dillard's, and it started pouring rain. I mean, do y'all have Dillard's? If people don't know what Dillard's is, it's like a southern department store. Okay, so the rain is so loud, it's crashing on the roof at Dillard's, and I can think, oh, great. Like, I'm going to have to walk out in the rain. Like, it is pouring because I couldn't find what I wanted, and it's an outdoor mall. It's not like I could walk into something else. I'm like, I'm just going to go home. I have no umbrella. I had on this strapless little dress thing with leggings under it with some kind of stacky flip-flops. I can remember exactly what I was wearing. Now, when I got to Dillard's that day, I had to park out far because the parking lot was packed. But when I walked out, everybody had left. I had a Tahoe at the time, and there was a white van out there by my car. I'm not thinking, I'm just like going, okay, everybody's gone. I'm going to have to run. Like, it was raining so hard, it was raining sideways. And I'm standing in the little entrance, and I'm wondering what I'm going to do. And in walks this little black lady. And the minute she walked in, I was like, because she's in human form, okay? This is just a woman. And I know this sounds crazy, but I looked right at her. I said, you love Jesus. She said, you do too. I was like, yes, ma'am, I do. And I said, well, I got to make a run for it. She said, no, you don't. Now, I want to tell you something about her. She was precious. She was petite. She had on this super expensive raincoat, just looked like high-end boots, everything. But I remember looking at her going, how is your coat dry? Like, you just came in from the pouring rain and your coat is dry. So, all these things are kind of hitting my mind at this time. And I'm like, I can't ask you to do that. She said, I'm going to walk you to your car. I said, I can't ask you to do that. She said, you didn't ask me. I'm walking you to your car. She was bossing me around like I was a little kid. But I took it, okay. But she had on this straw hat with this big sunflower on the front of it that did not go with the rest of the ensemble, at all. I was going, that hat is weird compared to all of this. So she is so protective of me. She puts her arm around me and puts the umbrella up, and she's walking me to the car. And she's going, you're getting wet. I'm like, all I can tell you is I started telling that woman everything going on in my life, every struggle I was having. I was just rambling. I just felt this, I have to tell you everything that's going on in my life. I just feel like you can help me. We were waiting to adopt Hudson. We'd had some failed adoptions. We'd had some things happen. I thought we were going to adopt a little black baby, to be honest. I just had always felt like I was going to have an African-American baby. And so I believe I'll have a green baby one day. That baby will show up somewhere. But, and I trusted black women. Remember I told you about that small elementary school? My mentors and my principal for most of that time were these black women that poured into me and loved me. So I had a trust for black women that I wouldn't have had for anyone else. I would not let a man walk me to my car like that. So I'm telling her all this stuff. And so we get to my car in the van. There's the van beside me. There's a white van beside me. It's the only other vehicle in the parking lot. I'm not thinking about anything except this woman. Okay. And the walk is over. And I knew, it's just strange. I didn't understand who she was at the moment. But I said, I think, I don't know what to do about this baby. Do we keep going? We've been hurt so much. Do I keep? And I said, and I think we're supposed to adopt a black baby. And she did her hand and she went like this. And she said, for blood, in heaven, we're all the same. We all have his blood. Okay. And she is so putting me in the car, she turns around. So I'm in front of her. She is totally up against the van. And she looked at me and she said, I love you. And I said, I love you too. And she put me in the car and she closed the door. And back then, as soon as you put the key in, the door's locked. So immediately, because I had my keys ready, turn the key, the door's locked. And I'm way out in the parking lot. Please remember this, y'all. I told you I had to walk all the way. Think how far a parking lot is with no cars in it. We had to walk the total length of the dealer's parking lot. I'm immediately calling Andrew. I don't even have the car in reverse, and I'm calling Andrew. He's like, baby, that was an angel. And so I stopped because I'm looking for her the whole time. She's gone.
Entertaining angels unawares.
Yes. So she is gone. And I remember when I got in my car, I looked and locked eyes with an angry man in that white van. That man was there to get me. That is why she walked me out. That man was waiting for me in that van.
Wow.
Yeah. And so now when you look back, you go, okay, the parking lot's empty, but it's duh, there's a white van parked next to my car. This is 2010, 11, we weren't as on alert of people trying to kidnap us all the time and stuff as we are now. And I was in my own mind. And then I certainly, once she entered the picture, there was a difference in the atmosphere. And I wasn't even thinking about anything other than, why do I love you so much? And why do I feel like I've known you all my life? And what is this feeling coming off of you? Because you're not Jesus. I know Jesus. But just this trust, right? Like this. And couldn't get enough of her. So when I back up in reverse and put it in park, I'm at the furthest part of the parking lot. Andrew's already saying, baby, that's an angel. And I look, and I'm telling you, because the parking lot was empty. There was nowhere she could have gone. She was gone. So probably 3 years later, I'm horrible with time. This came first, I'll say within a couple years later. This is when I'd had an experience with Jesus the day before that I will share with you some other time, because it is a whole story that needs it. I've been to heaven, and I will be happy to share that with you sometime, but it deserves its whole. It does, Janie, it deserves its whole. It's a long story.
Wow. Okay. Then I'm having you back.
Okay. This one deserves its own story. It does. So, but that had happened to me where I'd been to heaven and experienced and seen things unlike I'd ever seen. And the next day I asked Jesus, I just go lay on my bed, expect it. Like, where are you going to take me today? And instead he sent angels. Now, I had seen angels, but I'd never seen angels with such detail as I saw them this day. So I'm laying on my bed, and I can't remember if I opened my eyes or not. Like, this was strange because it was a natural and supernatural experience at the same time, because I knew where things were in my room. Like, here are the double doors. This tall angel is bigger, taller than my ceiling, but I can fully see him. He never said a word. Like, I think those are the ancient ones, like the super huge ones that are in the white robes that are just like, like, I'm like, who are you? I saw him one time later. He didn't say a word. He just plopped. There was one standing right next to me that was my guardian angel that I had caught glimpses of before. There was one they were in all the corners. Okay. And then I'm thinking, that's it. 3 dropped beside me on the side of the bed, and they look completely different. These are like tall, narrow angels. I don't see their wings. They have on white robes. And I literally said, who are y'all? And the one in the middle said, we are knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. You've asked Father for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Mm-hmm. Give me whatever you have, friends, right? Like, I'm in shock, and it's fabulous. So I'm just trying to take in, okay, because I'm seeing they're all in white. They have on robes, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Mr. Huge, if he's not, I'm not saying it was Michael or Gabriel or anything like that. He was high ranking, though. Like, this is a high ranking guy that's in front of me. But he has on white. But my guardian angel appears very feminine to me. I think she's a watch. People say angels can't be women. I'm like, y'all, I've seen so many things that just don't fit into people's package of what we think of things. Flaming red hair, curly red hair that looks also like fire. Green eyes. Gold armor. Like, makes me wonder if, like, the Roman Empire didn't catch a glimpse of an angel one time and try to copy their armor, because it was the breastplate. They were like, there's a green stone in the middle of hers, like right here. Her eyes are green. There's a green stone. The other angel that I was really allowed to focus on was over in front of me, and he was like chocolate brown, little crop of black hair. He had on like platinum armor, different colors. So I'm like, Lord, is this like the military? There's different ranks, there's different groups. Like, I'm trying to put all this together when I see it. Y'all, all I can tell people is my experiences. People can tell me I'm wrong, and they can tell me what. I'm like, you can say whatever you want to say to me. It does not change my experience. And if you're a Christian and you don't believe me, you can ask Jesus when you get there.
Right. And the thing is, I'm just going to say this, Lou. I've heard, because I used to be Sid Roth's producer, and I worked on almost 1,000 shows, and I talked to all kinds of people. And this is the thing for me. If their experiences don't make them more on fire for the Lord,
Ooh.
then I'm not really interested in your experience.
Yes.
But if the experience makes you closer and more hungry for Him,
Yes.
and also the love of the Lord comes through you, I'm all ears.
Okay.
So, but I also find it interesting that when you had all of this, of seeing angels, was it then after that you started having visions?
Yes. Yes. It all started, like, all this was a progression. I think if He would have given it to me all at one time, I probably would have gone insane. It's a lot. Look, when people say, I wish I had what you had, I'm like, you have no idea what you asked for, friend. I love everything God has given me, but it's very difficult at times too. It is. I don't just see the good stuff. But this story is one of my favorites because this shows you the power of prayer, like you were talking about earlier. So I was like talking to the Lord. He's not in the room, but I'm talking to the Lord like I do when I pray. And I was like, am I allowed to speak to them? I was going to ask him for, like, I'm very aware in this minute how tiny, and I know we're over them. You feel very insignificant in a room full of angels. You do. We're not in Jesus, but your human reaction is, oh, wow. Am I allowed to talk to them? He said, yes. And that's when I asked who they were, and they said knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. So then I'm thinking, what do I want to ask? And by the way, wisdom is the only one that spoke. Knowledge and understanding didn't speak. Wisdom spoke, surrounded by knowledge and understanding. Wisdom was in the middle. Okay?
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So I look up at my angel, who I've seen a few times in rare circumstances. More if I had a knowing of what she looked like in the spiritual, I could, okay, I feel that there, and I still have that. Like, I can sense an angel sometimes, and I can look at it in the spiritual, like not in my natural. It's not like they pop up in my room just standing there. It's because I can see into the spiritual that I see them. But it was more they were present in my natural that day. And so I'm looking at her going, goodness, you are beautiful. And you protect me. God sent you for me. And look how amazing this creature is. And the love she had for me. And the protectiveness she had for me. Like, we cannot forget their purpose is to serve the Lord, guardian angels, by protecting and doing exactly what God says to do over all of our lives. When they can intervene, when they can't, what their job is. And their job is us. And they take that job seriously. So goodness gracious, we know my girl's been through a lot, right? But I looked at her and so the first thing I think was that you that day at Dillard's? Because I wondered, was it her that showed up as the black woman at Dillard's? She went, no, it was him. The little chocolate brown one in the platinum. I said, who are you? He said, I'm Andrew's protector or angel. I can't remember exactly which one he said. He said, he prayed that morning and asked Father to protect you and watch over you during the day. So Father sent me to protect you.
But looking in the form of a woman, because you would then
Yes.
trust a woman
Yes.
being.
Yes. Yes. And then I just cried. I was like, my husband, think how many times we just pray and go, Lord, will you protect our kids today? Lord, will you watch over Andrew? Will you let him be in your favor, Lord? Will you shine your face upon him? Will you send angels to surround us? Like, I ask these things all the time, but until that moment, I never understood. Andrew said a simple prayer that morning, probably getting ready for work or at his office, having moments of quiet before he started his day. Father, will you please protect and watch over Luke today? And God went, you got it, baby.
I mean, it's like you said, and people pray that and they don't even think anything. I mean, I've prayed, Lord, I thank you that you've sent your angels to guard them or me in all of our ways. And there's such power in prayer. And that's what I'm getting when I'm listening to you.
Yes.
Now, I definitely still want to get to some of the visions that you've had of America and the end times. Do you want to talk about it now, or
I'd like to share the first vision first. Because
okay.
the first vision explains everything about why I'm speaking to you, about why I don't just stay to myself in my life where it's way more comfortable to do so. But he is everything to me. Jesus is everything to me. He is everything to me. He is my everything. What he did for me is unexplainable, and a lot of people would have said I belong in hell. A lot of people would be wrong. Because even in those moments when I was so unsaved and broken, he's like, that one belongs to me. She doesn't even know she belongs to me. But he put his foot down on April the 8th, 2004, and looked at the enemy and said, she's mine. You are not taking her. So why would I think he would ever change the way he feels about me today? And I only love him more every day. I don't even have enough love to give him. I can't wait to be back there with him. All of us. So early on, even in the first, I'd say 4 or 5 years, I started being able to access the spiritual more through prayer, start catching glimpses of things as I'm praying, sometimes a little light, but I got into the place think this was probably around the 5-6 year mark, where I had a place where I could go be with Jesus. And I call it the training ground. I was in a meadow every time, and I could see the city of heaven far off, like the outline of the city. There was a water, there was a tree, there was a bench. And I would just go sit and talk to him. And sometimes, look, I will tell you, I can have complete conversations with Jesus right before I'm waking up and have no memory of what he said to me when I wake up. But it shows up. It shows up. He speaks to me all the time when I'm asleep. And I'll wake up, I'm like, will you let me remember that? But he lets me remember it when it's time for it. I can't carry all that all the time. So, like, one time I was there and I realized, like, I could fall into him, like, because I was kneeling in front of him. And I could kind of fall down and touch him or feel him. I just remember going, oh, wait, what? Like, can you just cover me? One time he said, what do you want to do today? And I said, can we go for a run? Because running was my thing. That's the one true thing I miss about the physical capabilities I had at that one time. By the time I had said that to him, we had run around all these planets just in a blur because we were running so fast, and got back before the words even came out of my mouth. And he said, time here isn't as time is there. Didn't go any further. That was the message. So I was with Jesus in that place this day I'm going to tell you about, and I didn't want to leave. There are sometimes, look, that I have to make sure I live in the natural, not the supernatural, because I don't want to leave. It's a thing. Who wants to come back here? It's always the love of my husband and my children, but at the beginning, especially having more experiences with him, I did not want to leave. So we're in the place where we always are. And I said, I don't want to go back, because he said, it's time for you to go back. I said, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. Like, oh, please don't let me go back. He said, you have to go back. Like, why do I have to go back? And in that moment, everything changed. I was in a field, okay? This stark field, stubbly grass. I don't know, people our age know. There are still rest areas when you travel. When I was a kid, they were these stark brick buildings. I never go to them anymore, but they're stark brick buildings, just kind of in the middle of nowhere, where there was the bathroom. So there's one of those to the left of me, and it's small. And on the door is the silhouette that is always for male and female at a bathroom. And so Jesus is standing beside me, and I'm like, what in the world is this? What is this? He said, just watch. And so all of a sudden in front of me in this field starts popping up those silhouettes, black silhouettes, some male, some female, the same shape on the bathroom doors. And they just start popping up, these one-dimensional, like if they were cardboard, okay? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, hundreds, thousands, until this whole field is full of these silhouettes. Millions. Because it goes back as far, like your eyes can see further there than they can here. Millions. And I was like, what does this mean? Like, I'm confused. And he said, go touch that one and then come back and watch. And in that moment, the sky changed again. It was like that pink mauvey color. I think that's him. I don't, just in, or spirit moving in color, so the atmosphere around me is not scary at all. It's beautiful. It's just like this him in a more neutral, rosy color everywhere. So I'm aware that the colors changed around me. And look, things happen in the spiritual like that. Sometimes you recognize, but that stood out. And I went down and I was like, it doesn't have a hand. Because he said, go down and take the first one's hand. They don't have hands. They got their arms like that. They don't have hands. I'm still human. Just touch it. So I touched it with my hand. And it became a human woman. And she went, oh! She wasn't doing that at me. She was doing that at Jesus. Oh. Her spirit man woke up. So she touched the one next to her, and it was a man who went, like they are in shock. It is like they took the first breath they'd ever taken, like, and so he said, come watch with me. I went up and stood with him and watched person, touch two people, till everybody in that field, spirit man, had woken up. And then he looked at me. He said, that is why you have to go back. That is your job.
It's so very powerful, Lou, because also when we think, if I just am used by the Lord to touch one person and then that one person touches another person, I mean, wow, it's like a big harvest.
And look how things have changed since then. When I had that vision, there were no podcasts. There were no people you could go talk to where 50,000 people. The first podcast I did, I think 250,000 people have seen it. So it used to seem impossible. I believed him, but I didn't know how to make that happen. What's significant about the visions I'm about to describe is that I'm not what you call an overly political person. I'm a conservative to the core because I follow Jesus, right? So I don't argue with people about my beliefs or whatever. I do one-on-one, but I'm just not this over political person. I've gotten way more over the last year, I think 2 years, more aware of the world because of the spiritual things going on in the world. So I pay more attention to it than I used to. So for me to get these is odd. It's odd. I'm not the typical person he would send to give these words. And I haven't publicly until right now. I've shared them with people, but not publicly. So in 2021, after COVID had hit, so remember we had 2020 was really hard. We had the first wave, and then it was in between the first wave and the second wave of COVID that I had this vision. And I remember we lived at the beach at the time. I'd been out for a walk, and I came home, and I think I had like showered and was getting dressed or something like that, because I remember I was in the bathroom. And when I go into vision mode, it's like God drops something into a very particular place in my head, in my spirit, that then I see. He drops it in, and then it's like a movie I can watch, because I can see it over and over and over. It's not just the one time I can see it. Now, I don't remember everything the way I remember these, because if I remembered everything he ever showed me, I think my brain would be full. But certain ones I have complete memory of. So it was in 2021, and I go into the vision, and it's like I'm looking at outer space. I'm standing on the edge, and all I see is earth, black background, and there was an angel standing above the earth that in proportion was the same size as the earth. Okay? To me, she still looked like my size in the vision. It's not like she's towering over me when she's talking to me, but in proportion. So picture, if you're looking out at a black screen, here's the earth, here's the angel, and they're the same size. I had to look it up after because I knew I recognized her, because the clothing she was wearing, I remembered like the scales of justice, the woman that represents the scales of justice. Okay, so she looks like that, but she's an angel. And she is so sad. And she said, she held up this golden goblet, and it was full. And she started crying, teared up, like one tear. I don't want to have to do this. Father does not want to have to do this, but this has to be done. And she showed me the cup like this, and it said wrath. And that cup is full. Looks like blood, either blood or red wine. Because Jesus' blood is not wrath. Okay? So I'm watching her. Can I tell y'all right now, I was terrified. Because she's sad. She is sad. And I just knew God told her to tell me this. I don't understand why. Me. She poured one drop of that cup. And I watched it with her, and it covered the entire earth. And I was standing there and she doesn't mention coach. She doesn't mention any one instant, anything that's going on in the world. But something had happened where a certain point had reached, because God is just, right? So for whatever reason, one drop of that got poured out. Then I had the realization of that cup is full. And what if one drop covers the earth? If that whole cup covers the earth, like we're done for, right? Like we're done for. But then she feels me getting scared, and I'll tell you like my interpretation of this. But then she shows me the cup and it's empty, and on the inside, redemption is engraved. Okay. From my understanding, the revelation I feel the Lord has laid on me about this vision is that it has started, but I believe the rest of the cup is for the tribulation. I believe that one drop was, and so why now in 2026 is he having me release this? I don't know. You're the first person I've ever felt clear to release this with, like talking to Jackie on the phone. Like because I don't give it if I don't have clearance. Okay.
Right. So, Jackie's my daughter. So,
yes.
Right. So Lou, you had talked to Jackie, my daughter.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yes. So that's what I believe, Janie. I believe that first drop was now. We're starting to feel it. It's affecting the entire earth. If we look at the picture of the entire earth, there is chaos and confusion, and good is evil and evil is good, and nobody believes anybody anymore, and there's propaganda everywhere. The only truth that exists is the truth of God. That is the only truth that has ever mattered, but that is so muddied right now with a lot of the world. Okay. So I believe that drop was our warning, that it has started, that God has an entire cup. And when I think about that entire, it's like if I could scream at everybody, y'all, find Jesus, not because I'm trying to scare you. I couldn't live here in this world without his peace every day. I don't see how people walk this earth without him right now, with all the uncertainty. And so I believe that.
I believe that it's being released right now because Jesus is coming back very soon.
Yes.
And there's more. There's more. There's another vision that the Lord gave you.
So this came, it's funny how I remember this, because there was a movie called The Jesus Revolution in 2023 that starred Jonathan Roumie, that's in The Chosen. And Andrew and I went to the movie. And it's the first time we've been to the movie in a while. Because of my health issues, we did have to be very careful during COVID. I couldn't have the attitude a lot of people could have about it. I wanted to, but I couldn't, because at the beginning, it probably would have killed me unless Jesus stepped in to save me. Because I have had COVID 5 times and it wrecked me every time. I didn't have the first strand. I had it after. So we went to the movie in 2023, and I saw a lady in the bathroom, and I had on this key, and she walked up to me and said, "What does that key mean to you?" I said, "Keys of the house of David, keys to the kingdom of God." Like, I wear it every day. She went, "I thought so." And I've always had a thing for keys. And so she's the first person, like, I knew to release that to her. And that was probably March of 2023. And I've had this vision right around that same time. So the earliest would probably be December 2022, January 2023 is when it came. So also for somebody non-political, like y'all, this one is, you can choose to turn your head about this one or not, to everybody watching. But I want you just to think about it as I give this to you. Because I love this country. Like I told you, I have family that serves this country. I love this country. This country means so much to me and to the world. We do. And so, in this vision, when I tell you, like, I always just say I'm minding my own business, because I am. I crochet and I cross stitch a lot. It calms my mind. I pray. I listen to the Bible reading to me. And it's funny because if you look, there's some little mice right there. I crochet all kinds of things. So, I was crocheting when this one happened. And I was I don't know if I was in the House or the Senate, exactly where I was, but I was in one of the buildings. Okay. Because I was on the governmental floor. There's wood everywhere. like, it's just, but I knew where I was immediately from the way the risers go up. I just knew that's where I was. And at first there was one man. He was an older white male, balding, a little overweight, glasses on, sitting when I looked straight ahead. He was sitting on the right to the door, but he was on my left when I looked up. So I looked high up in the risers. There's one man sitting there. And he's just sitting there watching. Then I see these 6 men move forward. I was 10 years old when Ronald Reagan became president. I remember the hostages in Iran. I remember politicians all the time on TV. And I say that because these guys reminded me of the Reagan era, the way the politicians look, their hair done a certain way, the suits. It just reminded me of that. It did not represent a party in any way, shape, or form, but it was the image of a politician. These men were all white. They all had dark hair. They all had on like these blue suits. 3 had on blue ties, 3 had on red ties. They were a representation of both sides of the government. Now, in front, they're just standing there. They're waiting on somebody. I see this guy walk up. I only see his back. He's young. He's new. I guess this is where they're meeting. He walks in and they start like, we are so glad you're here. Oh my gosh, we're so glad. We've heard great things about you. Like, share your heart with us. Like, why are you here? What made you want to do this? What do you want to do for your people? Like, what's your goal for your state? What's your goal for your people? And he just starts sharing from his heart. This man loves God, okay? He loves the Lord. He is sharing with them everything he wants for the people. And they're all listening. And then he finishes and they go, okay, great. We're going to help you with all this, but there's one thing you have to do first. You have to bite this apple. And it's the most beautiful apple you've ever seen in your life. Perfectly polished. I feel in him going, I don't need to do this. I don't need to do this. I can't scream at him. Believe me, in my spirit, I'm screaming, don't do it. So I'm in the vision. Nobody can hear me. I think the guy from the top can hear me, and I'll explain that in a bit. But I'm like screaming in my spirit, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And the guy said, he's hesitant. And they go, okay, well, that's your choice. We can't make you do it. But if you don't, everything you just said, we're going to make sure it never happens. You don't understand this place. And the only way you get to get anything done for your people is if you bite this. And if you don't bite it, okay, you can try. I feel it coming, and I see him pick up the apple because I'm just seeing his back, and he bites it. And when he pulls it out, it's not an apple, it's charcoal. And then all 6 of the men are like gluttons. I don't have any other word for it except for they are shoving this charcoal. They are chewed up. It is running down their faces black onto those white shirts. And they are giddy and gluttonous and evil. And I'm standing there just so devastated because I feel the devastation in the guy. Right? I feel he's like, my gosh, what did I do? What have I done? And the Lord said, baby, look down at the floor. I felt this God the Father, right? Look down at the floor. It was all charred remains. And then I have a friend who told me the floor is marble. I think that marble came from Alabama, a lot like the Washington Monument. I didn't know this until recently, but my home state evidently has the most beautiful white marble. And I believe the floor is built out of marble from Alabama, which is just, I'm going to have to research that some more. But I know white marble from Alabama was used in a lot of our governmental buildings and monuments. So I didn't realize when I first had the vision, but now that means even more because it burnt through marble. It burnt through wood. And God said they burned down to the very foundation on which this country was built. They burned it up. And so I'm just devastated. And then he goes, but wait. And he shows me this piece of rounded wood, very highly polished piece of acacia wood. And he said, I'm saving this for the remnant. Then I looked up at that guy in the corner. I said, "That's the enemy, isn't it?" He went, "Yeah, it is." He said, "If you notice, he didn't even have to do anything anymore. They do it all for him." I just glared at him like, you don't get to win this. You don't get to win this. He's just like, He's just watching in a very nondescript body that nobody would ever think was Satan. Overweight, balding, typical American middle-aged man, kind of giving up on life a little bit. But so the remnant, I keep going, Lord, where's the remnant? You told me you were saving this for the remnant. Like, what does this even look like? What does this mean? I don't know. But I want us to remember, our country is very divided politically, and I stand on where I stand on my values, but there were 3 red ties and 3 blue ties with students. Both sides were completely complicit in this. This was not a one-side issue. This was individuals. It wasn't a whole party, right? It was certain individuals that were running this whole shebang. And the Lord has laid more on my heart that I want people watching this that love our country to hear this from my heart. Look, when Jesus comes, I know where I'm going. I know that no matter what happens on this earth, he will guide us. He will protect us. I believe that. I believe part of this is going to be people going, why are those Christians taken care of? Why are they doing okay? I'm talking about the true followers of Christ. The true followers of Christ. This is the time as Christians, as followers of Jesus. I consider myself a follower of Jesus. I like to pretend like I would have been in the dust of the rabbi, like just walking behind him, sucking up every word he said. Like I can't even picture being able to follow Jesus on earth, but can you imagine? But like, that's what we are now. We're still following him. We don't have his physical presence, but I'm a follower of Jesus. We can't be quiet about our faith anymore. We have to boldly share our faith with other people. We cannot accept false doctrines, false prophets, false teachings to make other people feel better. We can't, or we will lose this place. And for us as believers, we know where we end up, but we still have work to do right here today, in the right now. And I don't know what that looks like for each individual person, but I see people caving all over this country to things that are not of God, to make other people feel better. So I don't care if I offend anybody. If they choose to take offense by what I said, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I know people are offended by some things that I say sometimes. I don't care if it offends you. But if people could see what I see on January the 6th, the day of that, I was at home. My TV was not on. One of my best friends, Shannon, called me and she said, you need to turn on your TV. I didn't look at the crowds. I looked above the Capitol because it was a spiritual war between demons from both sides like I have never seen in my life. They were even fighting each other. My legs started shaking. My legs buckled. And I walked downstairs to Andrew's office at the time, and he was on a work-wide call. I mean, entire company. I said, you've got to get off the phone. You've got to get off the phone. And he got off the phone. I said, I can't even tell you what I just saw. The demonic fight over our country right now. Like I've never, in all the years of everything I've seen, I have never seen anything like that. People are just so complacent in the spiritual matters. We can't be complacent about the spiritual matters because our battle's not flesh and blood. There are people that do battle in flesh and blood. I have no power in that. We have got to fight these battles in the spiritual. If you are not a believer in Jesus and you've found this podcast and you've watched this whole time because you're fascinated by the supernatural or whatever part of the story has brought you here, or if you're a believer but you're not all in with Jesus, I want you to hear my heart for a minute. He loves you more than you can imagine. You can't even imagine that when he looks down this earth, you're his favorite, whether you love him or not. Whether you believe him or not, you not believing in him or accepting him does not change his existence, does not change who he is or what he's capable of. I was the most broken person. If you go look at the 10 Commandments, I have not murdered, friends. That's about it. He came and got me in that state. That's where he came and got me. You can't keep telling yourself, like I'm feeling this right now, I got to get myself together. You can't get yourself together without him. You can't. And we're in a place in humanity right now where I don't know how any of you make it without him on a daily basis. And what he wants you to have is his peace, his love, his joy, his forgiveness, so that you walk here in his freedom. He died on the cross for you. No matter what your name is, where you are, he hung on that cross. You flashed before his eyes. He knew everything you'd do. He knew every way you'd mess up, everything. And he went, you know what? He's worth it. I'm going to do it anyway. He saw me. He saw Janie. They're going to mess up. They're worth it because I love them that much. And I want them to be with me in heaven. I don't want them away from me for eternity. So what I will encourage you to do is put yourself on your knees, put your face on the floor, call out to the one true God. Challenge him. Holy Spirit, if you're real, reveal yourself to me. He might not do it right in that second, but I promise you he will show up. God tells us, if you call on him, he's going to answer. If you knock, he's going to answer. Seek me and you shall find. If you just seek him and push up any preconceived notion you had that you may have had about Jesus. I've met him. I've seen him more than once. He is the most precious, kind, loving, compassionate, patient, long-suffering. He long-suffered on that cross. He's the son of suffering. And because he did that, he can walk through our suffering with us here. People say, oh, he doesn't understand this, or he doesn't. Yes, he does. God put himself in a little baby and came down for you. I want us to fill heaven up, Janie. I want to fill heaven up. And my prayer has always been, even before the day of the vision of him showing me what my, quote, job is. I can't save anyone. You can't save anyone. But our testimonies, I pray that if nothing else, y'all, from my whole story, you go, okay, that girl was not saved. She was not following Jesus. She was living in sin. She had committed so many sins I can't even count. And he came and got her anyway. And then her whole life changed. Her whole personality changed. She became a different person. She became a different mother. She became a different wife. She became a different friend, a different servant. You would not recognize me before. It's hard for some people now because I'm not the same person I used to be. So that's hard for some people because they still picture me as the partying whatever girl or whatever. So that's been difficult for some people. God changed everything about me. He saved my life. He continues to save my life. When I think about any of you that have not accepted him as your Savior, it just puts such pain in my heart for you. I can tell you one thing about me and Janie. And I'm going to tell you, Janie, some people have stumbled across this that had no idea what they were going to get. They didn't. There is one reason that both of us do what we're doing right now. And her son who edits and her daughter who helps in this ministry and me is because we love Jesus. We don't get a special cash prize when we get to heaven if we help get you there. That's not why we do this. We do this for you. We do this for the people that don't have him. We do this for the people that think they have him, like I did, and then realize I really don't know anything about this whole thing. We do it so that you can live this life here First Start. Look, we both had chronic illness. Both Janie and I both have struggled with illness. I know so many people that have struggled with abuses, and I was abused as a child. Y'all, I could tell you all the different things that I've been through, and even though looking back as a child, Jesus was with me. Jesus shielded and protected me. He helped me heal from that. He helped the woman that was the woman at the well. Talk about the woman in the well. That was me. I was the woman at the well who has had a godly, loving marriage for 21 years that has produced much fruit through our children, through our family, through our quiet giving and the things that the Lord leads us to do, through our sharing. I used to just talk about myself. I was so full of myself. I was a looker in my 20s and 30s. Look, I was so vain and full of myself until Jesus came and changed me. And now it's like, I told Janie before we started, if any of you leave this and you're talking about Lynn instead of Jesus, I have not done what the Lord has called me to do. So I'm going to challenge you in this moment for you to go take some quiet time and reflect. Go, if you won't kneel down, just close your eyes, bow your head. Say, Lord, Lord, I want to accept you into my life. Lord Jesus, I recognize you as the Son of God. I believe that, girl. I want to believe you. I'm asking you to come into my heart and to forgive me of my sins. And lead my life, Jesus. I invite you into my life. Show me, lead me, guide me. And y'all, he will do it every time. Every time.
If you said that prayer, please comment. We would love to hear just of
Please.
souls coming into the kingdom of God. Lou, you're amazing, and I'm going to have you back. But this was very life-changing, and just thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. And I want to thank you for the work that you do. God honors you. God looks down on you and is pleased with you for the steps you've taken and the work that you have done. And people are going to watch this and continue to see this ministry blow up in ways we cannot imagine, because this ministry is focused on the kingdom of God. So you are going to continue to grow and flourish and help lead people to Jesus in ways you can't even imagine.
Thank you for that word, and I'm just believing all for the Lord's glory, so
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
This officer died and was sent back with a warning from Jesus and Moses. Click the video now so you don't miss this urgent warning.